Building strong relationships is just as important as delivering the right solutions. In this episode of From the Dock, Alan Bean and Jake Parrish discuss the PLCS Safe T Stopper and how our sales and training initiatives are strengthening connections between manufacturers and customers. Learn how EGW is driving education, safety, and trust in the field, because the right knowledge leads to better solutions.
Dude, so I got to ask, how has the safety stopper training been going? I know that's a big initiative for us right now.
Yeah, it's been going really well, Alan. You know, we got multiple contractors coming in week and week out, and it's been pretty efficient.
Yeah. So how many, I know that we've got, 100 some odd kits going out plus, right?
Yep.
How many contractors do we have signed up right now?
We got roughly 15 different contractors coming in and out for safety stopper training. We've got 168 sold off the initial deadline, and probably about 20 more kits additionally after that. So got my year cut out for me, that's for sure.
Yeah, you definitely have the right hat on today.
Yeah.
Got the PLCS swag. I'm just curious, if I didn't know what a PLCS safety stopper was, kind of explain it to me. What is a
So a
safety stopper?
safety stopper is a no-blow kit that PLCS developed to kind of offset your normal full isolation and bypass procedure that you would perform with TD Williamson utensils. So basically you can go in on a homemade service tee. Instead of stoppling, tapping, plugging, and isolating that entire main line, you can utilize just the service tee, insert an expansion plug, which stops the flow of gas to that service, and you can go in and perform whatever work's necessary at that point, creating a lot safer environment for your employees.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know that the safety stopper has been around for quite some time. It seems like, more recently it's been taken off. I feel like as safety becomes more of an issue, within our industry, being a natural gas industry, the adoption has really picked up from both contractors and utilities.
Yes, sir, that's right. So not only is a safety stopper a lot more safe, but it also cuts down on your excavation times, your man hours, and the equipment that's utilized out in the field to perform these job tasks.
Yep. So obviously the safety stopper is a great piece of equipment, but part of it is the safety that comes, through training. So, I know that PLCS can manufacture the safest product out there on the market, but if the end user doesn't know how to use it properly, right, safety's out the window. So I'm curious, what is EGW doing when it comes to training and equipping our customers with this product?
That's a very good question, Alan. So we facilitate the full-on initial training for the safety stopper kit. Once a contractor places their order and we receive it in, we'll call those contractors, they'll come in and they'll receive a full-on training on how to utilize that tool. We ensure that they have competency prior to leaving our warehouse with that tool and utilize it out in the field, which creates an all-around safer environment.
Yeah. So it's not just selling the product, right?
No, not
it's
at all.
like, let's sell the right product for the right application, and then let's equip those customers, be it a contractor, be it a utility, with how to use the equipment, and then after the sales service. So I understand that even months, years later, we'll provide recurring training for those same customers. as the industry shifts, as customers, bring in new employees, turnover. I know right now, within our industry, and not just our industry, but across the country, we have an aging workforce. And so I do believe that the training aspect, of this initiative is paramount for the success and safety, of those using it.
I couldn't agree more, Alan. Initially, we provide a contractor training that covers around 8 to 10 guys that are going to be utilizing that tool. Mm-hmm. And then as they use that tool and they have, turnover rates within that contractor, we do provide recurring training, as well as additional adapter kits to make the tool more versatile out there in the field. Not everybody runs into the same type of application whenever they're uncovering services. So there is that room for improvement with the tool and making it more versatile. And at that point, we do provide an additional training on how to use those adapters.
So when we talk about training, there's many ways to train somebody, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can watch a video on it. You could read the manual, because we love reading manuals, right? And then there's the hands-on aspects of it. Putting your hands on the equipment, learning how to use it. I would love to learn a little bit more how EGW is training our contractors and utilities.
Well, you kind of nailed all three aspects of it right there, Alan. You know, we bring the guys in, we set them down, we do what I'd like to call a VBT, a little video-based training. We also cover the manufacturer specifications of the tool, the limitations, what it can and what it can't do, and certain applications that you can use it for out in the field. Once we've covered those two aspects, Alan, we usually move into a hands-on portion. We'll go up and we'll do a demonstration of the tool, utilized on a live asset, usually pressured up around 50 PSI. Once that's completed, then the guys will come up in groups of two, have how they work out into the field. They'll get their hands on it, and we basically evaluate them and make sure that they have the competency to use that tool out in the field whenever they leave our facility.
Nice. So somebody like myself could actually go in there, learn a thing or two, put my hands on it, and be able to walk out the door, you know, with a competency of the steps and
Yes,
which
sir,
to take.
without a doubt.
Got videos to remind you.
Yes, sir.
Got, you know, obviously the manuals and got your phone number.
Yes, sir. They got my phone number, and on top of that, we have a lot of resources that are available to the contractors after the fact. So if they get out in the field and they get in a pinch or get in a situation and they're unsure of something, there's plenty of resources for them to cite and find that information to fill in any missing blanks, as well as my phone number to call me Johnny on the spot.
There you go. Nice.
What's the history with the PLCS and the safety stopper history specifically?
Yeah, so I mean, the safety stopper, this isn't a new product by any stretch. EGW and PLCS have been working together for a long time. I would say one of the values that EGW has provided PLCS over the years is being that go-between between the end user, be it a utility or a contractor, and the manufacturer. So I feel like over time, that product has gone through many iterations. What you see today and the kit that you're training on is not the kit, you know, from 10, 15 years ago. And EGW has played a part in that. And so, you know, by being the boots on the ground, listening to our customers, you know, what are they seeing? What different types of tees are in the ground, the service tees, because there's not just one. And then sending that information back to the manufacturer and working with them on a reliable solution, right? And so we'll take that solution. A lot of times it's a lot of trial and error in the initial phase, working with that customer. And then once we kind of refine that, PLCS, you know, works that into their operating manual. At times can create, you know, a new product or a new kit rather. And so I feel like EGW has really played a part both, you know, in the effectiveness of the tool in the field, you know, listening to the contractors, listening to the utilities, but also being the voice of those same customers to the manufacturer.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that, Alan. Not too long ago, we had a contractor that came in, bought the initial kit for your regular double dog-eared caps, and they got out to the field and they started to notice they were running into a lot of bull plugs, and they reached out to us and asked if we could, you know, accommodate that application. And I turned that over to you, and I see that that's how you're taking care of it now.
Yeah. I mean, once we got that inquiry, it was immediate call to Joe at PLCS. We had some dialogue back and forth about what, you know, your customer saw out in the field. It was actually a real world application in the ground. Sent pictures, dimensions. He worked on it. They ultimately created a kit that now is in use and is effectively, safely capping those tees off.
Back in the past, you know, typically when people would run into a homemade service tee that was gutless, they would either take a piece of wooden plug, whittle it down, they would remove a cap, and everybody kind of stand back and they'd stick it down in there, and it was a pretty dangerous process, Alan. You know, there's a couple ignitions, some people got hurt, you know, and that was never any good. So the alternative method of that was welding on short stops, doing a full isolation and what we call a bypass, where they would actually weld on a short stop on both ends, dig remote bell holes, which is also time consuming and expensive. They'd run a bypass, they would tap it out and plug it. But with that process, if it is a one-way feed and you risk losing the other side or the downstream side of that, you could blow out a lot of pilot lights, which ultimately cause a pretty big danger to the residential areas. So the fact that Safety Stoppers came out with this new kit to where you can isolate those services without ever disrupting the main is just next level, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're either, you know, putting your employees at risk, right, in a live gas environment, or you're potentially negatively affecting, you know, all the customers downstream.
Yes, sir.
Not to mention the time. Right. And so with the time comes expense. So if you know, take time to dig 2 holes, do the stop hole bypass, and that's, let's say, 8 hours versus, you know, PLCS being able to do this, I don't know,
12 minutes.
12 minutes if you're trained, right, yourself. It might take me 45, maybe an hour. But even in an hour, that's such a savings over 8 hours, right?
It really
and
is.
you can, depending on how many of these you have to do. I mean, is this a one-time deal, or is this no? We actually go, house to house, and we're replacing service after service.
And ultimately, you can't put a price tag on a life. If you're keeping your employees safe out there in the field every day, that is above and all.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, we talk about cost and work hours, right? Man hours. But yeah, I mean, it's the safety aspect. It's ensuring that those workers, go home to their families each and every night after a long day at work, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's what the Safety Stopper is all about.
Yep.
Creating that safe work environment, getting those workers home, and listening to forklift.
So what are we looking at as far as adoption of this product and the scaling of it moving forward with other customers?
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's not a new product, but I think it's more of the education within the industry. So that can be internal education from a utility to one of their contractors, or even within their own organization from different states. It can come from a contractor working in one state seeing something that's more time effective, safer for their employees, and sharing that with their organization in another state. Look, it can come at conferences, speaking engagements, things like that. So I do believe that just the education aspect of it, the sharing of knowledge among peers in the industry is important. Unfortunately, it can also come through incidents. You mentioned it earlier. Anytime you have an employee working in a live gas environment, if there's a spark created, you're going to run a risk, right? Your employees could get burned. There have been, incidents out there that have occurred, through live gas, right? So some product adoption, unfortunately, is through incidents. But I think we learn from those mistakes, right? My hope is that, as utilities have those unfortunate events, they look, hey, how else could we be doing this, right? Could we be doing it safer? Is there something out there on the market? And so a lot of times that's when they learn about PLCS, if they haven't heard it from us, if they haven't heard it at a conference, right? So I really see that being the path to a widespread adoption. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the utilities making the conscious effort and investment, to keep their employees safe and to think through, different circumstances. This product, there's other ways, to kill a service, to cap a service line. This is one of a few that you've even mentioned, stopple and bypass, right? So we're not saying this is a one size fits all, but there's certain circumstances where it is a great solution.
Yep. To your point, Alan, coming from the contracting side of 10 years, being able to give back to the industry and be able to provide these safe means and the training and facilitate all this for the Safety Stopper has been a blessing through and through,
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, it's certainly been a blessing to have you on the team,
Well, I
with
appreciate
your
it.
knowledge. And like you said, you've got a background in the space. I feel like you have a real knack for training, and that's been, a blessing to EGW, but ultimately it's been a blessing to our customers. So really appreciate you joining the team and serving like you have.
Well, thanks for having me, Alan.
Yeah, you bet.